Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Food waste is a huge issue, but one BC company is working to move that food to those who need it most. And more people are reimagining what retirement means for them. Instead of slowing down, they're facing down the ticking clock of time with hope and ambition. I'm Amy Bell, in for Michelle Eliot, and this is BC Today. Thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1 and live streaming on CBC Gem, cbc.ca/BC, and on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. Now, we are having a few technical issues today, so our show does look a little bit different, but I can guarantee that we have a really great one for you today. Now, Environment Canada has issued weather alerts for much of BC's coast, warning of potential ocean waves reaching up to 7 meters today. So joining me now is CBC Vancouver's meteorologist, Russ LeCate. Hi, Russ.
Hello, Amy. Nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you. How was Christmas and all that?
Oh, it was a great break. Well, it wasn't a break. It was frantic as could be, but it was wonderful to see the family and all that sort of thing. And
I agree.
Nice to be back to work.
Yeah, everybody's a little bit slower today. I feel like we've all had our share of Christmas cookies. So tell us about these current alerts.
Interesting story, isn't it?
It is.
And it's occurring primarily because of the time of year and coinciding with unusually high tides and a strong southeast wind at the same time. So when we talk about king tides, it's sort of occurrence that might happen maybe twice in a calendar year, right. And we're coupling what is a near king tide right now with a fairly significant wind and wave event along the outer coast, Vancouver Island, and also impacting parts of the inner south coast. So we are seeing abnormally high water levels in coastal areas could lead to a little more coastal erosion than we're accustomed to, or maybe even some infrastructure damage, docks, that sort of thing. Look what we saw really around Stanley Park, think about a few years back, and even Kitts Pool. So.
Yeah, and so much damage can be caused. So is it sort of the significant winds or these tides that you think people need to be most wary about?
Well, it's really both, and that's why the main threat of these high water levels is only going to be over the course of the next maybe 2 to 6 hours.
Okay.
Things were sort of coming up later this morning and peaking around mid-afternoon today. Typically, to get a true king tide, you've got to have the moon and the sun pulling in the same direction.
Right.
And generally that'll occur during a full moon or a new moon. We had a full moon last night. And at the same time, you get king tides more so right around the winter solstice, which was only, 5-6 days ago, I guess. And so we've sort of got the two occurring at the same time. I checked Discovery Island. They're just to the east of Oak Bay near Victoria, and they do have gales from the southeast gusting now. So we'll see those water levels beginning to sort of increase a little bit around Esquimalt Harbor, close to Victoria, even up along the east coast of Vancouver Island and along the west side, Tofino, Ucluelet. Big waves, as you mentioned, 5 to 7 meter swells coming in at 20 feet with increased tides, too. So we could see a little additional coastal erosion today.
Okay. And then, they did have those high winds on Christmas Day in Vancouver Island. What's sort of the long-term forecast? Is this just, a series of storms that are going to continue?
The island is sort of right in the crosshairs, if you will. And most of the significant weather action for coastal BC is going to be over the outer coast for the next few days and only just grazing across the lower mainland and Metro Vancouver. We have a little light intermittent rain out there today, but I'm afraid that island residents, you're getting more rain and you'll probably have a couple of wind events yet to come.
Okay, well, batten down the hatches as they... I always like to say, I don't
like
know
that.
if anybody else.
Sure, pirates like you and I, why not?
All right, Russ, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, take care. That was CBC meteorologist Russ LeCate. Now, many of us are still enjoying leftovers from our holiday meals and about to head to the grocery store for our New Year's menus. And this is while many are struggling to put food on the table. So our question today is, what are your ways of tackling food waste? How can we do more to address food insecurity? You can call us 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733, star or pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. Our next guest is someone who took action on both these fronts. Jessica Regan is the CEO and co-founder of Food Mesh. It's a company that helps grocery stores reroute excess food to those who need it. Hello, Jessica. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello there. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell us a bit more about Food Mesh. Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, the idea of food mesh really originated when we saw some pictures from a friend who had a compost company, and it was pictures of trailers of product. It was actually avocados and onions, and it was too ripe for retail.
Okay.
But it so it ended up in his dock on his dock, and because of the stickers, if, in fact, it was actually discarded, so it wasn't even composted because of the stickers would jam up his machine. So that really kind of stuck with me. And over a series of months, I started to research more and more, and I started looking into the
Jessica,
problem. And it is,
Jessica,
yes,
I just want to interrupt. We're having a little bit of trouble with your connection. Just wondering if it would even be possible for you to remove your headphones to see if that would rectify the situation at all.
sure, of course. Is that easier?
No, we do still seem to be having a bit of a connection.
Oh
I'm so sorry.
no,
Um,
that's okay. I can call in.
we're just going to work to get this connection. My tech is going to work that out with you. As I mentioned, we are speaking with the CEO and co-founder of Food Mesh, Jessica Regan, and this is a company that essentially helps grocery stores reroute their excess food to those who need it the most. And of course, right now with grocery prices. Increasing, it is increasingly difficult for families to afford these food and to see so much go to waste, off the stores of these grocery stores. Jessica is somebody that has decided to take action to help these stores with their unsaleable foods. We're asking you today as well, what are your thoughts and what do you do to address food waste and how do we address food insecurities? And, if it's not so much an issue of not having enough food, the issue is just how to get it to the right people. So, our guest is Jessica Regan, and she rejoins us now, the CEO and co founder of Food Mesh. Hi, Jessica. So sorry for those issues.
Oh, no problem. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. You're sounding clear as a bell now. So,
Excellent.
just let's start from the beginning because I don't want people to have missed, such a great story. But, where did this idea really come from?
Right. So the idea came from a friend of mine who had a compost company and sent me pictures of trailer load of avocado and onions that were too ripe for retail. And so unfortunately, they ended up in the waste streams. And that was a story and an anecdote that really stuck with me. And over time, I started doing more research into the problem of food waste, and I really learned that we really don't have a food shortage problem. We have a connection problem when things don't go as planned. If something is too ripe for retail, oftentimes it's just easier and cheaper to discard it than it is to find alternative homes. And it really got me thinking and asking what I could do to help change that. And so that's really the origins of Food Mesh.
And it encompasses the entire food system. So, how much of that did you and your co founder sort of know going into this business? Just, I guess, sort of how all encompassing it is.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it really is a multifaceted issue, and you can't be the best at all things. So really, what we started to do was focus on the wholesale. That's really where a large part of the food is wasted, and so we built this B2B marketplace that allowed people to connect and donate unpredictable ad hoc surplus food. They could either sell it or donate it. The idea would be that we find charities or upcyclers or farmers or anybody who would want that product and help it make it a little bit easier, simplify it to help find that match for that surplus food.
And it is. It's so much food, but as you said, it's not a lack of food. It's just a lack of the proper channels to get it to those who need. A lot of us,
Yeah.
I think, feel badly about food waste. You'll buy maybe produce with the best of intentions and it rots in your fridge. But aside from feeling bad, how can that be turned into actions that will actually help?
Yeah, it's such a great question and so important. I mean, food is not waste. It really only happens when there's no end use for it.
Right.
At the household level, there's lots we can do. Be a bit more mindful of when we're buying stuff. Don't go for big bulk just because it's on sale. Get what you need. Learn how to preserve it. There's even the trimmings. There's lots of creative ways, and with social media, there's lots of creative ways that you can use your trimmings and make interesting things. But food mesh really focuses at the IC&I sector, which is industrial, commercial, and institutional, the businesses where the large volume happens. And there's lots of things that businesses can do to make a difference. And really, the first thing is asking the question, how much do we waste? Admitting that there may be actually a waste problem that can be reduced, getting a good baseline, and making the decision to just try to find an alternative outlet for any product that's not being sold. And there's lots of options. There's plenty of options.
And is this a problem that is getting worse? Has this always been an issue, sort of with grocery stores and these larger suppliers, that there has just always been this surplus that they can't get out in a timely manner, or is this something that we're seeing more and more in the past few years?
Yeah, it's a good question. One of the tricky parts is that we don't really have effective baseline data. We work at Food Mesh, and part of our work is to help measure the movement of unsold food. So it helps visualize and create a line of sight into what's happening. So depending on what study you read, between a third and over half of the food that is grown in Canada is either lost or wasted along the food supply chain. So this is an extremely high amount. If you think about all the water and energy that goes into this. And more businesses are acting, and so you're starting to see the conversation of food waste pop up in conversations more than it did even 5-6 years ago. But I'd like to think that more businesses are starting to take it seriously as more leadership is joining international protocols, and there's lots of different big companies that are starting to make a change. But it is happening at a very slow level, so it's hard to see the change at scale. We just see kind of anecdotes here and there,
Right.
which is obviously not enough. Yeah.
No, and I would assume too, you're hoping they'll sort of be that trickle down effect. The more people that find out about it, the more people and organizations that want to help and be part of this. We'd love for people to join our discussion. What are ways that you personally tackle food waste, and what would you like to see us do as a whole to address food insecurities and this food surplus getting to the right people? Call us at 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733 *690 on your cell phone, and you can email bctoday@cbc.ca. Now, you were recently celebrated, I believe, just this past fall at a BC Lions game for your work with a BCLC Community Hero Award. What was that experience like? And congratulations.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah. No, it came as a really nice surprise. I was nominated by somebody, and it just came as a surprise. I wasn't too familiar with the program. And yeah, they invited us to the game, and my family, my little children came, and I had to go and wave a flag and say hello to everybody on the teleprompter, which was quite the experience, I must say. So.
Oh, I think that is wonderful and sounds incredibly well deserved. And in addition to your work with Food Mesh, you also work with a Kenyan charity that provides support for orphans and widows on a microloans program. You also spearhead a young entrepreneurs program for First Nation. What roles do entrepreneurs play in sort of community development?
Oh, I love that question. My whole life I've been, I guess, entrepreneurial. I really do believe that entrepreneurialism is an opportunity to find a solution to a problem. And especially at a local community level, if you see a gap in the market, as they say, or an opportunity, entrepreneurial is a really great way for people to align what they're good at, what they're interested in, and where there's a need, solve a problem, and wrap a business model around it. I'm a big proponent of it, and I spend a lot of my life energy to help other entrepreneurs, whether it's in another country or up north. I really do think it's a really great way for social change and great economic development and all those great things.
And could you tell us about your recent invitation to United Nations Economic Commissions for Europe?
Oh, oh yeah.
Again.
Oh my gosh.
Incredible.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. I actually began my career in Geneva with UNESCO, and 20 years later, some of the work that we're doing in food recovery is getting recognized, which is really incredible because food waste really is a global topic, and we really do need lots of different conversations at all levels of government, at business level. It really is a multifaceted, multi-stakeholder. So the United Nations is interested in exploring this. They're looking at through technologies such as blockchain. So we've had many conversations in terms of how can we take some of this technology that's being developed in the Web3 blockchain world and have that practical application and apply it into a real life example. And food waste is a really great example of doing that. So those are just some of the conversations. Like I said, it really hits all levels of government. Food mesh is we know that it's not just going to be a business decision. Government really needs to come in. So it's great to see all levels of government coming in on this conversation.
And how much of a responsibility do these larger corporations sort of have to be part of the solution as opposed to the problem? And how much effort or even money should they be putting forward for these things?
Yeah, it's a tricky question because businesses have a hard time. They've got to stay in business. They're
Mm.
facing a lot of struggles with staff and just keeping the lights on and all of that. Margins are tight, so it is difficult. But if people start to see waste as it does cut. It's an economic pain point. So if there's an opportunity to build in efficiencies, so if more businesses start to really look at that and say, you know what, we're wasting this. We don't need to waste this. Let's get better at our procurement. Let's look at the food that actually we are discarding. And chances are probably a third to two-thirds of that is still edible and it can be rerouted to people who could use it, such as hunger relief organizations. There are tens of thousands of these organizations operating across Canada. They're in every backyard you can imagine through soup kitchens and mosques and food banks. And a lot of these businesses are too busy to coordinate with them, and but if you set up these relationships, they're incredibly grateful. And while food recovery is not the solution to food insecurity, it really isn't. It does alleviate, and it does allow us to make the most of that food that is growing and find the best end use for that, whether it is human consumption for donation or animal feed for the inedible or upcyclers. There's lots of different places that this food can go, and it's just about businesses really trying to say, I care. I'm going to do something about this.
And would you be able to tell us a little bit more about, I believe it's a B Corp designation and what that means for a company or for a business? It just sort of walk us through the step, I guess, of what it means for the business and how they can go about getting that designation.
That's one of my favorite conversations.
Oh, good.
So a B Corp is effectively it's a playbook or a guideline or a certification for businesses to operate in a healthy manner, so to speak. And really what it is it looks at, okay, a business is almost like a living organism. It's there's people involved. So how do you treat your employees? How do you treat your community? What's your governance structure like? What's your impact on the environment? Is it a socially just? There's different components to, and so for a B Corp, it allows you to build positivity, I guess, into the DNA of your business. So part of my background is helping businesses get B Corp certified. So taking your business and figuring out what you can do to just make it a little bit better, caring a little bit more. And so when we started Food Mesh, it was really important to start that from day one. Many businesses wait until they're profitable to start, giving back. And I think you can really start it out from the outset. There's ways to have impact and care. And in fact, I think it's part of growing a healthy, resilient business.
And how does BC measure up against other jurisdictions in terms of these food issues that we continue to have?
That's a great question. So food waste regulations. So just in terms of talking about it from the government perspective, BC has a lot of regional governments and municipalities that have enacted what's called a organics ban, which prevents businesses from throwing that food into our landfill because it really is the worst outcome for everybody. In landfill, there's the methane from the food and the plastic, and it just sits there and it's buried and it's literally no use. And so these bylaws help create what's called more of a circular economy. It forces that food to at least go to compost at the very minimum,
Mm.
so it keeps in circulation because those nutrients are recovered in some way. And there is a hierarchy where compost is really like the last rung, but it's better than landfill. And so BC is pretty progressive. There are other provinces and regions that are doing some really great work, but not as well as other countries. France has been pretty progressive. There's some other countries that are having some really bold actions, and I feel like BC and Canada, quite frankly, could step up a little bit more.
Okay. What are you most looking forward to in this area for, the coming new year, 2024?
Uh, yeah, so 2024, I have big aspirations. I'm really hoping more businesses get with the program and know that it's really it's a bit tone deaf to be wasting food in such large quantities and not really having either a donation program or really any goals, sustainability goals. So I'm really hoping to see more businesses take a pledge or make the decision to do something. I'm looking forward to seeing how things develop in the policy arena, and also just more startups in this space. Our part of our role with Food Mesh is not just helping businesses, but actually connecting them to other solution providers. There's Food Mesh is just one of many organizations taking a stab at this problem, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more startups, more entrepreneurs taking a different slice of the problem, so that we have a bit more of bit more kind of encompassing the problem a little bit in a different way, I guess. So yeah, looking forward to that. And I think we're on a good track. We really do, but we got a lot of work to do. So
All right.
yeah.
Well, you're certainly doing a lot of work yourself. So congratulations on all of the accolades and all the work you're doing. And thank you again so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
That's Jessica Regan, the CEO and co-founder of Food Mesh.
Sing me a song, babe.
What kind of song, babe?
The one you hear when you look into my soul. Sing me a song, babe.
What kind of song, babe?
It ain't gotta be good, it ain't gotta be long. Just sing me a song. It ain't gotta be good, it ain't gotta be long. Just sing me a song.
Play me a song, babe.
What kind of song, babe?
The one that feels the closest to my touch. Play me a song, babe.
What if I get it wrong, babe?
It ain't gotta be good, it ain't gotta be long. Just play me a song.
It ain't gotta be good, it ain't gotta be long. Just play me a song. And I could play this guitar without any strings,
I could sing for hours about everything.
and that'd be alright by me. I could play this guitar without any strings,
And I could sing for hours about everything.
and that'd be alright by me. So sing me a song, babe.
What kind of song, babe?
The one you hear when you look into my soul. Sing me a song, babe.
What kind of song, babe?
It ain't gotta be good, it ain't gotta be long. Just sing me a song. It ain't gotta be good, it ain't gotta be long. Just sing me a song. It ain't gotta be good, it ain't gotta be long. Just sing me a song.
And that was William Prince and Serena Ryder with Send Me a Song. The 12:30 news is next with Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. Officials have not yet released the name of the man killed near Canada Place Christmas Day after his tent caught fire. Vancouver fire officials say the tent went up in flames while the man was cooking inside. No one else was injured. And Environment Canada says the west coast of Vancouver Island could see waves up to 7 meters tall today. That will create a pounding surf along the shoreline at high tide, especially in areas exposed to the open ocean. Wind warnings are in effect for several areas, including Greater Victoria, the north and eastern sections of Vancouver Island, as well as the Sunshine Coast and Central Coast. There could be gusts up to 120 kilometers an hour. Meanwhile, BC Hydro has extra crews standing by to deal with possible outages. Nearly 30,000 customers had power knocked out during a windstorm Christmas Day. And taking a look at the rest of the forecast on the north coast, periods of rain this afternoon with strong winds and a high of 8, highs to -3, mainly cloudy in the Peace. In the central interior, mainly cloudy with a high of 2 degrees, highs from -1 to +3 and cloudy in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, periods of rain with a high of 4. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria and the Fraser Valley, periods of rain as well this afternoon, with highs around 11 degrees. I'll have more local news at the top of the hour. Now back to Amy Bell with BC Today.
Thank you, Robert, and welcome back. And thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1, live streaming on CBC Gem, cbc.ca/BC, and on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. Now, we have had a few technical issues today, so our show looks a little bit different than you typically would see, but it sounds great. I can guarantee you that, especially when we have our next guest coming up. So retirement these days doesn't mean being, pushed out to your porch swing or knitting in a rocking chair. And that's because many seniors are choosing to keep working and volunteering and even pursuing a sort of encore career in industries they'd only dreamed of. But many seniors are also facing financial shortfalls, and the goal of retirement moves further and further away. I want to hear from you, though. Do we need to reimagine what retirement means? And do you have plans for your own second act? Call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, star pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. Joining me now is CBC journalist Kathy Brown. Kathy is the host of a new special called Better Late, and it's a show about Canadians who are reimagining and reevaluating their life after 65. Hi, Kathy. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Amy. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's always exciting when you're here. So, Kathy, I sort of know how this special came to be, but tell our audience, how did this come up? How did Better Life come into existence?
Well, a couple of stars aligned, actually. I had the opportunity through a program here at CBC for disabled employees to learn more about broadcasting and to actually get the opportunity to create our own show.
Right.
And at the same time, I was thinking about my situation here. I started at CBC at 65.
I know.
I'm turning 70 in a few months, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not ready to retire. I don't feel like I've even got started yet. I've got a lot I want to do here. So it got me thinking about what other people were doing and how they were reimagining life beyond that traditional 65 cutoff. And I put the word out on social media, and to my surprise, I was deluged by response, not only from seniors who are doing just what I'm doing, but also from people who know people. And so we amassed a group of some extraordinary Canadians who are just doing the most awesome things with their lives in this chapter.
What's sort of, one of the bigger takeaways that you learned from all of these different people that you interviewed? Was there a common thread, or were there some surprising things that came up?
I think certainly one of the threads was, it's your time. Take care of yourself. Do the things you've always wanted to do. You've raised families. You've taken care of all of that. Now it's your turn. And also, I think to take chances, to take some risks and say, you know what? I'm going to do this thing because it's something I've never done, but it's something I've always wanted to do. And that was another common thread.
And you met a lot of people. I think, I think it's interesting because we've sort of, as a society, long thought like, oh, you're at a certain age, you're past your prime. We kind of need to hide you away, and you're done having your adventures. Just settle down. But that doesn't seem to be the case. People are living more active lives, healthier lives, longer lives. So do we sort of need to really center the way we think of aging and what that means to a person?
Well, I think it's gradually happened. I mean, even myself, if I think of myself as a young person and seeing or imagining someone at 65 or 70, it wouldn't be me.
No.
And it wouldn't be, anyone I know at that age at this point. And I think several factors I think came into play. Women had a more predominant role in the workplace. People are living longer. There's, more understanding about disability, about intersectionality, about all kinds of things that affect our roles in the workplace. And I think it just seems a bit more natural, although ageism and the other A word, ableism, is still out there. And, we have to confront that still.
Right. And how has that impacted you're also a woman as well, so that could be, I guess, 3 ways that people judge you.
Well, and certainly that was the case when I started working. I started working in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
So, I've been through 5-6 decades now of being in the workforce. I've definitely seen an evolution, but we're not there yet, of course, because we don't have pay parity. We don't have, there's a lot still. And ageism, according to Stats Canada, is very predominant in Canada. 56% of people have said they're ageist.
I think, and it's a lot of times people don't realize it. It's so casual and still so accepted. But I think there can be a lot of wisdom and value that comes from so many people. I've always found you have so many unique experiences. You're a wealth of knowledge on so many things because you have such a well of experiences to draw from. Is that something we're sometimes missing when we don't have these older generations in the workforce?
I think sometimes people forget that history can repeat itself too. Life now is not unique in so many ways. You can draw on experiences from things that have happened in the past. And I think one of the things I've enjoyed being here is imparting some of that historical knowledge and some of that saying, this has happened before and this is how it can be handled. And not even just news or current affairs, life within the office, life generally. You can say, hey, you know what, that happened to me. I think it was maybe 30, 40 years ago, but it happened to me.
I think it's important, though. I think that generational knowledge is important, and not just in families, in the workplace as well. We're going to take a call now from Greg in Vancouver. Hi, Greg. Thanks for calling in.
Hi.
So are you yourself retired?
Well, I call myself semi-retired because, as I say, I'm working part-time. Today, since I've been doing this since 2018, but I had for 20 years I was a community health worker, aka home support worker.
Okay.
With Vancouver Coastal Health up till age 67. Next month I turn 77.
Wow.
And I've been doing this the last 5 years. I'm a YVR limousine driver, part-time. And I drive, pretty much exclusively drive. I do hotel transfers of Delta Airlines pilots and crew.
Okay.
As a contractor. I'm not an employee. And and I enjoy it. It's really convenient that the owner and the limousines and everything is just 5 minutes from my house, and the airport's about 20 minutes away, and downtown is about 15 minutes away. So it's very easy but I'm not interested in a full-time job, and I'm also I don't feel like I don't want to be an employee of anybody.
Right.
But I'm a contractor now, and I'm just paid by the trip. But I enjoy. I get U.S. dollar tips from the crew, and
that's always nice.
And that's nice. but I live on my pension. You know,
right.
I can live on my pension, and me and my wife live comfortably. And I tell all the crews that I pick up, I pick up at the airport, sometimes just one trip a day, an incoming flight from Minneapolis, and I'll be there at the airport late, picking up the 2 pilots and 3 flight attendants and taking them into their downtown hotel. And today I was picking up 4 flight attendants up at the Signature Landmark, in the South YVR, and they were the crew on a charter, on an NHL charter, bringing in one of the NHL teams, but I brought them to their hotel, and that's my one trip of the day, but it's fine, absolutely fine. But I tell the crews, you guys are saving me from becoming a couch potato.
You drive them, they stop you, they get you off your couch. That's perfect. But I think this is, this is a common theme. You're not doing this because you necessarily need the additional wages. You're doing it because you want to stay busy, and you're getting to socialize and have some purpose. Do you think that's something that, people need to really keep in their lives once they're officially retired from their first career?
And I get to dress up too.
Hey.
I'm a limousine driver, and I'm driving limousines. So it makes, for a little while, it makes me feel a little bit, feel my best for sure. And I know I'm looking my best, and I also feel, even though I'm just one element and I'm not an employee of Delta Airlines. I realize I am part of their ground support. I mean, I'm helping to ensure that the crew make it to the airport down to their layovers downtown, and so that it makes it feel important and meaningful. And so I really appreciate having this to get me out. And I tell all of the pilots, I said, actually, I'm a wannabe pilot. I'd love to be a pilot myself, but at age 77, I don't think this lifetime.
Well, this is just almost as good. Greg, thank you so much for calling in. And I think Kathy, I'm sure you would agree. Like, he raises such a good point. It's not, a job is about more than money, which obviously is very important. But it's that socialization and feeling connected to a team. Is that something that you found from interviewing all these different people? They wanted that human connection.
Oh, definitely. Definitely community is a real big element of everything, and not necessarily people remaining in jobs, because not everybody that we talked to was extending their working life, but community and the need to be around people and the need to be giving back in some way to their community was a real big factor.
Okay. We'll take another call now from Ben in Fort St. John. Hi, Ben. Thanks for calling.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Oh, of course. So you've obviously been listening, and I believe you are a senior yourself. What are your thoughts on what we're discussing today?
He's not quite to 65.
Okay.
But I know my wife and I are thinking about the retirement, and we'll probably be okay. I think when it comes to finances and stuff like that, you want to be debt free. You want to, if you're lucky enough to maybe have a house paid for, that would be great. But not everybody's story is the same. There are people out there that have struggled more over the years and didn't maybe get the fortune that the other people did. But the main point I want to make is I think that seniors going forward for the next, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, we're going to have to maybe look after ourselves a little bit more and depend on each other, like other seniors, to maybe get through the tough times. things like congregate living for seniors. It doesn't have to be a nursing home. It could just be, 4 or 5, senior citizen friends that decide to get together and share accommodation to offset the high cost of accommodation, and also understand what the issues are. I mean, who better to understand a senior's issues than other seniors?
Well, that is true as well. And I love this sort of, not only are we reimagining our approaches to aging and what it means to be older in this society, but also, thinking outside of the box in terms of how we can help each other out and ways we can learn and grow. So I think that's such an important point, Ben. Thank you so much for calling in, and hope the new year treats you well.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, all of you as well.
Thank you. I'm going to read an email that we received from Lisa. She writes, I loved your guest program. I heard it yesterday. I'm 71, and in the last few years, I've written books, one published, A Glimpse into the Beauty of Island, and another one soon to be on Amazon. I never run out of projects to do, and as someone on her program stated, I don't retire. I retire from and retire to. Luckily, I did a ton of exciting things that I wanted to do my whole life. I always figured out, why wait until I'm retired? The only thing I miss is I used to rent out my apartment for 4 months and pay for my travel to explore another area of Canada. But since COVID arrived, I've stopped, and I miss that. Lisa, I think you're doing retirement perfectly, and I love that. I'm retiring from and retiring to. Again, it's just a different way of thinking about things. Kathy, you spoke with one woman, Nell Shackleton, who found her, she calls it her dream job later in her life, and that was at Government House. Let's have a listen to her briefly.
And this is where my dream was, to come to work in the highest place in British Columbia, and this is Government House. How much luckier could I be? I am so humbled that they took a senior on to actually work in the house.
Kathy, I'll get you to explain, better your interview with her. You can hear the pride, and almost, she still seems like a bit shocked that she was given this role. And why is that? Why would she be so surprised that this could happen to her?
Well, I think it's something that surprises all of us when we get our dream job late in life.
Sure.
And Nellis and I had some parallels. We both have been widowed for a long time. We both encountered obstacles along the way in our working lives, because both of us have been working forever. And, she worked really hard to get to where she is. She's been there 12 years now. She's 84. And you'd have to picture her. She's about 4'10".
Okay.
About 90 pounds soaking wet, and an absolute whirling dervish. She
So
was
she's
going,
not slowing down.
No, she was running all through Government House and showing me around, and I was getting tired. And I asked her how many steps she stepped every day, and she said about 20 to 30,000. And she never takes the elevator; she always does the stairs.
Does the steps. My goodness.
Yeah, she's amazing, and volunteering is also another aspect of her life, and again that points to community and the giving back as she feels that she should be doing at this point in her life.
Well, and it's I suppose sometimes with age, and you have that luxury of having a bit more time, that you can give back and you can focus on that. You also visited with a senior group in Surrey. They were doing their biweekly yoga. They were you could tell, having such a good time with each other. We'll hear a clip from Better Late, just one of them sort of expressing his thoughts on retirement.
It is not getting up in the morning to go to work. I don't miss that, and it's fun to play with grandchildren. Pick them up from school, right? So you have to be happy with yourself.
And how important is that, being happy with yourself?
Well, that was another common thread, and you could hear the happiness in the people that we talk to.
Very much so.
And a contentment and a comfort level with where they are right now. And you talk about wisdom, and they had it in spades.
Right.
And they were very eager to share their perspectives, having lived, in their 70s, and one of them was in their 80s, and basically said, I've worked real hard. Now I'm concentrating on two things. I'm concentrating on my health, and I'm concentrating on being good to me. And they have a coordinator there who's also like 83, and he coordinates like cruises all around the world. He coordinates exercise programs, the yoga, everything. And he's built a community from about 17 people in the beginning to over 100 now.
Wow.
Yeah. So the happiness factor is increased, I think, if you're part of a group, if you have a schedule of events that you can rely on.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. My father is retired. He's probably been busier since he retired. He's, learned how to skate. He joined a hockey team. He's fishing. He keeps himself busy, but you do need that. You can't just, if you sort of just say, I'm not doing anything for days on end, that's not good for your mental health. We'll take another call from Emily in Sechelt, talking about the Seniors Activity Center. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Amy.
So tell us sort of what are the offerings and things that people can do in the seniors in your area can take part in?
Well, our senior center in Sechelt is a really unique kind of place because it's not government owned. It's owned by the members of the senior center.
Okay.
And so the programs is very much seniors directed. So they wanted a lunch program and built the kitchen and everything for making that happen. They also have an auditorium for like yoga classes, and pickleball is really big. But I'm the cook there, and I work with seniors every single day who volunteer to work in the kitchen with me, doing things like making sandwiches and serving other seniors who are coming in as guests. And except for myself and my assistant, everybody who works there is a senior who's giving back to their community with this program. And it's really just amazing. And I wanted to say that, like, the help that they give is the only thing that makes it possible. And we have volunteers with all kinds of experiences that may or may not relate to the jobs that they're doing with me at any given time. But the willingness and like vibrancy of the seniors that I work with is just the most beautiful thing that I've ever been a part of. Being a cook, you do nourish people, but in this program, we've just been able to help people nourish each other.
Oh, that's so lovely, Emily. Thank you for calling in and sharing that with us. Kathy, you were smiling and nodding along, just to see that connection and how special that can be for people.
Yeah, and Emily brought up something else, too, that Nellis actually also talked about, is the wealth of experience.
Yeah.
That people bring to these situations. And, as Emily said, it may not be what they were working at for 30 years, but they're bringing that knowledge and a wealth of experiences and expertise.
Exactly. I think actually we'll take a call from a Trace in Vancouver, sort of talking about passing of the knowledge torch. Hi, Trace. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
So you were a computer programmer, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
Well, I had a science background. I did a Bachelor of Science in my youth, and in the last 10 years, I've sort of been diving deep into physics.
Okay.
Fundamental physics and quantum physics, and hopefully I'll have websites that sort of will be able to sort of pass on some of what I've learned in the last 10 years or so.
I think that's amazing, and what we've been talking about, just sort of being able to share that knowledge and not let it just end because you've left a job. You have that knowledge that can be shared and so appreciated. Thanks for sharing that with us, Trace. Have a great day and a happy New Year.
Thank you.
Now, Kathy, a lot of people. I mean, we are talking about these wonderful benefits of second act and coming into your own, but we can't escape the fact that for some, continuing to work is financial, and it can be very difficult. Is that something that you found from people that you were talking to, that financially retirement isn't necessarily the option or the given that everybody thought it was going to be?
I think that the statistics really support that too, as we were hearing from an organization called CanAge. One of the things that Lord Hamlin Watt, the director, said was that we have to do a better job of planning. And not just us individually. Our communities need to plan. Our society needs to plan. No one is getting any younger, but people are living longer.
Yes.
And so that throws a whole lot of monkey wrenches into the mix. And some people like Nellis, acknowledged that she was working, partly, well, she loves it, but money is a reality.
Right.
But she sees a lot of opportunities even within that need, and she doesn't, she definitely didn't let on that she was burdened by it at all. But it's a reality that I think the communities and society needs to really look at.
Yep. Yeah. And what are you hoping, from our audience, for people that are going to listen to the special? What do you hope somebody who is nowhere near retirement takes away from this? What can they learn from this experience?
I think a couple of things. I think everybody, could learn a lot more about ageism and actually realize that that's a thing.
And very much internalized for so many people.
That's right. And just don't realize it. I mean, we self-age ourselves all the time, oh, silly me, I have a senior moment or something like that. So we self-deprecate ourselves too. So we have to be more aware that that's happening. But we also, I think the wisdom that gets imparted by these people is like, it's not too late. It's not too late to plan. It's not too late to dream. It's not too late to take risks. And that anything really is possible. And, go for it.
I love that.
The least you can, the least that'll happen is that it won't be for you. And you'll go on to the next thing.
Fair enough. You got a little bit more time to play.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love you for joining us and for coming up with this project. It's been so great to watch it come together. So thank you, and thank you for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. That is Kathy Brown, a journalist with us here at CBC Vancouver. That is our show for today. I'm Amy Bell, in for Michelle Eliot.